You're listening to the extended version of the Mark Who 42's Universe podcast.
Mark Who 42 Universe.
Hi, this is Michael Winslow, and you're listening to Mark WHO 42. That's real. End transmission.
Welcome to Mark Who 42's Universe here on Subspace Radio Network. I'm your host, Mark Baumgarten, and we've got a great show for you. What would the alternative be? Here, who do we have here?
Eduardo M. Freyre, trying to figure out how to chronicle the history of Nathaniel Richards, because it's not as linear as you think.
No, it's not. And we also have
Thank you. Hold on, I'm going too big. Hold on, I'm gonna shrink. There we go. Hi.
Yeah, all right. I got nothing to say about that. Ed, do you want to respond to that last bit?
Nope.
Hi, Zion. Welcome. Okay. Today's show is going to be fun. There was a movie that came out last month from Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I thought, let's give everyone time to watch it. And before we did a review, and we're up to review, it is Ant-Man and the Wasp, QuANTuMAnia. And you can't spell QuANTuMAnia without Ant-Man. And Ed is going to run the show today. So Ed, take her away.
Yeah. I remember when you told me that joke, and then I looked at the word QuANTuMAnia, and I'm like, oh, damn, now I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It actually came out. QuANTuMAnia actually came out the weekend that Vicky Jacobowski and I were at Gallifrey 1. I was hoping that somebody would organize like an impromptu trip to go see it or something like that. Alas, alack, nobody did. But yeah, saw it when I got back from the convention. And, I just want to start by saying, okay, so supposedly this hasn't been getting good reviews, or it hasn't been doing well, and I'm just gonna say I don't know what the problem is, because I liked it. I really liked it.
Ed, I loved it too. I was surprised because everyone was saying, oh, it's not as good. I'm watching it and I'm laughing and it's great.
Yeah, I mean, okay. If there's any issues we had, if you're not a fan of a ton of CGI, then yeah, you may have issues, because there is a lot, like once we hit the quantum realm, it is pretty much almost all CGI.
Interestingly enough, I wish I had seen this in 3D. I know it was available in 3D. This would be a great movie to see in 3D.
Yeah. No, I mean this probably looks really good on 3D. I saw it regular and I still enjoyed it.
Yeah.
For those who were for those who were in a cave this entire time, or stuck in the quantum realm. See, I made it topical.
Yes, you did.
The whole plot. I mean, we start off with Scott Lang in a pretty good place, actually. He's kind of high off the fame of being one of the Avengers to take down Thanos. He wrote a book, which, by the way, is an actual book.
Yeah, Amazon selling
it's an actual book. Yeah. I think I'm gonna have to check with Trish to see if she pre-ordered it, but I know it's an actual book. You can actually get the actual book, and I'm curious to read the real thing. But yeah, and one of the first things though that caught my attention is Hope Van Dyne having taken back control of her father's company
Mm-hmm.
and using the technology to solve stuff like you know overpopulation, food, things like that. And it's like, to me, I'm just like, well, wait a minute, hold on. With very little fanfare, they just showed that possible solution to to all the problems that happen post blip.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if anybody noticed, because in the Marvel stuff that we've got, in the Marvel shows that are on Disney Plus, the clip has been one of the things that's been that's been discussed. So it's interesting that it's like, oh, wait a minute, this is a little peek into the post, into how to fix the post world. It's from Pym Industries or Pym Van Dyne or whatever it's going to be called. So yeah, that is that is something that caught my attention. I'm like, huh, interesting, very interesting.
And I have a question.
Yes.
We were talking about the book a second ago and that it's real.
Yeah.
Didn't that book show up in Ms. Marvel episode 1? At the convention? They were selling his book. Did
it?
I'm pretty sure.
That, that makes I feel like I now have to like maybe watch that scene again because I'm like, I don't remember that. Or maybe, so that would be cool. That would be like a cool little Easter egg.
Definitely.
I know that, well, one thing I did notice is that the movie did kind of run at it did kind of go at like a quick pace. Like we got into the quantum realm relatively quickly.
Yeah.
I noticed.
Very fast.
Yeah. They didn't, they didn't waste time getting into the quantum realm, which was cool. Which was cool because then we get to the meat of the story. But I did like, of course, pre-title sequence where we get our first look at Jonathan Majors as Kang. I mean, anybody, it's we've seen the previews, so we know that's the bad guy, but still, it's kind of cool to get to get a nice little flashback to Janet's time in the quantum realm. One thing I noticed is one other thing that one thing that did we do have like a great I like the cast in this. I liked it. I mean, what did you think? What did you guys think of Cassie? Because I liked how they put in Scott's daughter into things.
Yeah, I liked the older Cassie because of the blip, and she didn't disappear, so she aged 5 years more than. I thought the character was good.
I know that they switched actresses from. And it's a different actress from her appearance in Endgame, which I'm kind of curious, like as to why they switched out. But it doesn't. It's not. It's one of those things that it's like, okay, no, it's not that. It's not that. It's like I know it's a different actress, but it wasn't like jarring. It's not like replacing Rachel Weisz with somebody else for the third Mummy movie.
Yeah.
It's not that jarring. But yeah, I think she did a good job, and I just love how the character. It's like I love what they did with the character. Well, first of all, it's and what I also loved about it is that they, she got, the when we first get introduced to her, she got arrested at a protest. So it wasn't like a source of high drama. It wasn't like we're gonna do the family drama. No, it was just like, oh wait, what happened? Why were you doing that? And yeah, there was like a little bit of like a little bit of drama about Scott being gone and just what's he doing now post Blip? What is he doing to use his fame? But it wasn't like a big thing. It wasn't like it wasn't like we need some angst, so let's have the daughter be all like, what are you doing?
And I'm very happy there was no angst. I just the downer, some of those movies that have a lot of angst, hint, hint, Batman. Not, I mean, well, the Dawn of Justice, should I say, and part of Justice League. The angst is just too much. It's like,
yeah. It's like okay, we don't need them to be, all sunshine and rainbows, but good grief.
Yeah.
Good grief, we're not here for the angst. But I know. Okay, so let's getting into the quantum realm. One of the things though that I kind of wanna bring to the discuss with the group. What do we think of MODOK?
I was all right. I know a lot of people weren't all right, saying this is not how MODOK should look, and it's not. I think MODOK was perfect for where he was. I didn't mind the look change because it was still basically the same, it just different color scheme. And I knew when they said that they were sending out their ultimate killer, and the first time I watched it, I didn't know MODOK was gonna be in it, and I'm just thinking, could it be? And then he shows up, and I'm like pointing to my friend, that's MODOK, that's MODOK.
You either like MODOK or you don't like MODOK. Like if you come across MODOK and you say he's just a floating head, and you just keep it moving. That's just how I take MODOK. Like even when he came to Marvel vs. Capcom 3, I'm like, okay, MODOK, nice, but like that's unexpected. But who's asking for MODOK? If you know what I mean. Like it's nice, but like it's just a personal preference. But it serves its purpose. He's just a giant floating head.
Yeah.
So it's perfect. Except that he just scaled up bigger, but yeah, it just serves a purpose. Floating guy with a chair.
Now,
Nice.
if people were expecting the MODOK from the animated show that was on a couple of years back, I think Patton Oswalt played MODOK. There was a big difference between that, but I didn't mind because I mean we're talking about multiple realities in Phase 5.
So. Well, and then also here's the thing. Here's the thing for the people who are complaining. It's like MODOK's not like that in the comics. That's not MODOK. Epic fail. He looks stupid. Something though I would like to point out is because yes, dealing with time travel and alternate realities, there's nothing to say that we can't get like a different iteration of MODOK.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The Patton Oswalt MODOK can exist in one multiple in one.
Well, also since we're dealing with time travel, who's to say that there isn't like a more kind of classically themed MODOK? And that when Kang created MODOK, that he wasn't just working off like a template, so to speak. It's like he knows about the traditional MODOK, so he's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna maybe I could use this.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but is his name wrong? Like, isn't the M mental organism rather than mechanized? I don't know.
No, it's mechanized.
Yes. No, okay, you're right. You're right. You are right.
Is it mental?
It is. Yeah, it is. Traditionally, it's mental.
Oh.
Okay, so there's a chance that there is that what you guys say is that there's the actual mental organism designed only for killing out in some different universe, and this is the mechanized organism designed only for killing.
Yeah, or he could even still show up in 616.
Yeah.
There is one of the things is that okay, whether they do this or not, who knows? But there is the possibility that we could have a traditional MODOK. We could have a traditional MODOK showing up later, and Kang or somebody just being like, "Oh yeah, I knew this was going to be a threat to this guy was going to be a threat to the Avengers, and I thought, why not just show you what you'll be facing? Like, boom, there, problem solved. It's one of it reminds me a lot of when we had when Trevor was introduced in Iron Man 3, and are like, oh, that's how they're going to do the Mandarin? That's lame. And I was just saying, hey, we could still get a traditional Mandarin.
Yeah.
The door's not closed on that. And lo and behold, we had one of those shorts that did indicate there was a real Mandarin. And lo and behold, with this last phase, he showed up and even, made fun of the fact that, oh, this is how they're gonna, some guy took my, copied my organization and then named me after a chicken dish or something. It's like, see, you could still get these, if they wanted to, they could still get these traditional characters, and there's ways around it. One thing though that I think has to be said: did anybody, how many of us were surprised to see that MODOK was actually Darren Cross, alive and well?
Yeah, I didn't see it coming. I did not see it coming.
I thought that it lessened that scene in Ant-Man 1, because I found that death was very gruesome and unexpected. But now he just got sent to the microverse. Can I say that? Because
I don't think we're in trouble if we say microverse. I don't think we're in trouble.
They bounced around that for the entire movie, and they're just screaming, just say it. Stop saying this is the universe, under the universe, to say the microverse, please. But I don't know why they can't just say it.
You know what? I don't know. You know what? I think it would just have to be like, okay, the term microverse, did it, like when Micronauts was created, was that created by the toy line or by the Marvel comic?
Right.
So
I'm thinking it had to be the toy line. If they can't use it, it's got to be the toy line.
If they can't use it, if they got to skirt around it, then yeah. If it's the toy line, then yeah, they can't use it.
Yeah, I'm thinking though, they still in the comic books do sometimes use the word microverse. I mean, the Fantastic Four has gone to the microverse in their regular comic and called it microverse and had nothing to do with the Micronauts. Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, and also it could just be that as time has gone by, that it's gotten difficult. Especially because especially when Hasbro tried to do their unified universe, that probably could have complicated things.
It was okay, but it's nice that his storyline lined up with the story, but I just found that it just kind of lessened his end in Ant-Man 1. But that's just me.
Yeah, although still, it's like, given it's one of those things where, yeah, okay, it's like his demise in Ant-Man 1. Now it's like, it's kind of the typical comic book thing where it's like, nope, actually he survived,
Yeah.
Also, on the other, I mean, anybody who's a comic fan, we've been down this road before. This is not unfamiliar territory. At the same time, also, it's like, okay, and then again, he did, last time we saw him, he was, had parts of himself shrinking. So it's a typical, supervillain. I'm not dead yet. At the same time, the door was open for it. The fact that he was shrinking in pieces. And the fact that, we do deal with, Kang has a lot of technology that, regular humanity does not. So, it is possible, so there you go. I mean, Kang used a little bit of his tech and, I wouldn't say exactly healed Darren Cross, but, stopped him from dying. And I think that's the best way we can put it.
Is Kang human? What is he supposed to be from Earth, or is he somewhere else?
Yes,
he is from Earth.
No,
okay,
he's supposed to be okay. Classically, again, I say classically because we'll see what the MCU answer to this is. But classically, Kang is human. He was born in I want to say the 30th century of an alternate reality. But he is human.
Okay.
He is human. It's just that as we, oh Lord, as we get into, where the problem lies is that as we get into the intricacies of time travel and alternate realities, his history then starts to get like really super muddled. Like that's the
Like-
thing. It's once we start getting into his history.
So now, like, since we're on this subject, right? I just want to play the logic game. I'm sorry, I've been trying to keep quiet because like I kind of just find this movie okay. It's not bad, it's just okay. But
Alright.
I have nice things to say about this movie, but like I just have like like the way that my brain works, it's a logic problem, right? If Kang is from far future, like I know nothing about Kang from the comics. I just know that he's far future man, far future man. Fine. So my thing is that okay, he's now dealing with normal time people who in theory should be lesser than him, right? Like in theory, he should know about Pym particles and how they work. In theory, correct?
Right.
And so like my whole thing is like this whole movie goes on because of the lack of knowledge of how everything is going on. But he's a guy from the 30th century. Like my whole thing is like he should have a mastery over everything that these guys that our heroes are doing. Now I understand that we have understand that we have to move on with the phase and such, so he can't just raffle stop right here and now, right? But like again, he's from the far future. He's know about Pym particles and this and that.
The knowledge of Pym particles could die with Scott and and it could die here. It may not been in the future. Who knows?
But then how's he here then?
You know-
Because he had to have shrunk to get here.
The other Kangs, the other sent him.
Yeah. The other something. I mean, I'll let me if you don't mind, Mark. Let me jump in here. First off, okay, again, this is I'm running off speculation using what I know from the comics, so we don't know exactly how much of it would be translated to the MCU, but I do know that I know that there is the possibility that some of the tech, Mark kind of hinted at that. It could be that when Hank, Scott, Janet, Hope, when they pass on, that the technology is lost, and then Kang, coming from a far future timeline, there's any number of stuff that can happen between now and then that technology gets lost. Like think about it this way. Let's use a real world, real life analog, which is think about everything that was lost when Europe went into the Dark Ages.
Yeah.
Think about there was a bunch of stuff that just got totally lost. So who knows what happens between our current time and then Kang's time. Not to mention that we don't even given the fact that there's also one of the things, this is one of those things that it can be very confusing because we're also dealing with alternate realities, so we don't know that this particular Kang variant maybe doesn't know about particles.
Yes.
We're dealing, that's the thing I think that gets interesting about Kang as a villain and can also make him very dangerous is we're not dealing with one person. We're actually dealing with the possibility of countless. Like we get that in the end credits scene.
Yeah.
He is definitely one of those, I mean, hey, everybody here, we're Doctor Who fans. So we're familiar with the idea that you can run into you run into a time traveler and it's your first time meeting them, but they already know you.
Ed, I have to stop
So
you
it's
there
like-
because we have to run
Yeah.
to a commercial. So we'll be back here on Mark Who 42's Universe here on Subspace Radio We're gonna go deep into Ant-Man when we come back.
Don't go away. Don't go away. We'll be back with more Mark Who 42 after this.
By the power of Grayskull, I command the jaw bridge. Open!
The Powers of Grayskull series will cover every episode of all 4 Masters of the Universe cartoons. Join Optimus Solo and myself, TF2 and Mike, as we tell tales of Eternia, discover the myths of Etheria, become masters in space, and finally Masters of Grayskull. We'll have a commentary on the Secret of the Sword film, and a few other special episodes. You can find this 125-episode-long podcast in iTunes and on the web at geekcastradio.com. By the power and honor of Grayskull, we all have the power.
Hurry, Skeletor, hurry! I am hurrying, I'm hurrying!
You are listening to Mark Who 42's Universe.
Welcome back to more of Mark Who 42's Universe here on Subspace Radio Network. I'm your host, Mark Baumgarten. With me today are Eduardo M. Freyre and not Kang. I'm sorry, I mean Zion. Zion. Hey, Zion.
Hi.
You're too timely, aren't you?
Not Timely
Or you
Comics.
prob-
They don't call it that anymore.
Wow, you killed it. You killed the joke. You killed it. It's dead.
No, tell the
It's
joke.
dead.
Go for it. Go for it.
It died. Well, no, I was trying to do Kang variants, and you're referencing Marvel Comics' old name. It's like, I think those who are listening who are Marvel zombies know that it used to be called Timely.
Okay. So we're going to erase what I said, even though it's there, and continue. Ed?
Yeah,
I'm
let's put that
sorry.
in an alternate-
I'm
Let's
sorry.
put that in an alternate reality.
It's,
But,
yes, the alternate reality split, and we're back to our reality, which is you. Go.
Yeah.
Okay, so this whole movie's about shrinking, right? And now we're at the microverse. How are we still shrinking? Because like my whole thing is like the pin particles, right? I would
Yeah.
imagine like through from like the first movie they have a threshold because you got to that point where Scott was so small that he couldn't shrink or grow anymore, right? As far as I know, Hank knew about that spot because he told him about that spot, but Hank had no idea about the actual microverse. So my whole thing is that if by logic the microverse should be smaller than that spot. So how are they still able to shrink in the microverse?
Zion, in the comic book, Hank shrinks. In the comic book,
yes.
he shrunk in the microverse. I can't explain why, but it is canon.
No, it is. I mean, it's
Because
also
we're not
possible
particles.
that. Okay, it's also possible. It's also possible. I'm gonna try and neutralize this that as they shrank and they pierced the dimensional barriers, that they're now in another dimension.
Yes. Okay. I think, yes,
So
that
they
makes
can
sense.
still shrink. Yeah.
Yeah.
And who knows? And again, this is a fictional. This is a fictional construct.
Of course.
Who knows how far down you can go? Because also remember that the first movie when Hank went subatomic,
Mm-hmm.
the area that he was in was barren. It wasn't, it wasn't what we saw when Hank rescued Janet in Ant-Man and Wasp, or what we saw in this movie.
Yes.
So, it is possible. It's possible that where Scott went in the first movie was lower than where we hung out in this one.
See, I accept that. But the thing is this, I wish that they would just say it. Like they just glossed over it and just said, okay, we can still shrink here. Which is okay because
Yeah,
we're in the Marvel movie and I'm not supposed to think about how are subatomic particles still shrinking. But yeah, it's still there because the movie's about shrinking. If you get what I'm saying, like if Honey shrunk the kids, what happens if he shrunk the kids again? Can he even do that? Who knows? But yeah. I just wish that they just kind of just brought it up.
Yeah, of course, things like that. I mean, you have a point. I mean, it was good to bring it up. The thing is, though, is that we're dealing with films where it's like this is not a hard scientific look at
Particles.
at the at shrinking. This is a superhero who shrinks, and he's in another dimension.
Yeah.
Trying to get his family out and deal with the time traveling conqueror. So it's like the priority, for better or for worse, was on that. It's like, okay, we're not gonna stop to do a science lesson, and actually, the more I think about it, the more I kind of think, that probably would have been a complaint on this movie. It's like, I just want to see Ant-Man, doing all this stuff. I don't need to know the science behind the shrinking. Getting back to like characters and stuff that we saw in this movie, was anyone else expecting Bill Murray's part to be so small?
I
No,
didn't expect him in the movie.
Yeah, like I knew he was going to be in the movie, and he showed up in the previews. They showed him, so it's like him just being for that little moment. It actually surprised me. Like when at the end when we had like that big revolt against Kang, I was expecting him to show up, like either siding with Kang or siding with the rebels and being like telling his troops, okay boys, we're switching sides again. I wasn't expecting it to be, okay, well, there's Bill Murray and now he's out, thanks Bill. That's
well, I
a
mean,
wrap for Bill.
he was out because he got eaten by that octopus kind of creature. They killed him off.
We didn't see him get eaten.
I thought it was being held by one of the tentacles, and then I thought it went towards the mouth. And they just can't show that on a movie that's Marvel. But I thought they clarified that was clear.
Yeah, but Mark, you're a fellow comics nerd.
Mm-hmm.
Are they dead?
Oh, they haven't shown the body. Yeah.
See, we didn't see him get consumed, so the door is open for the door would be open for him to come back. Again, doubtful, but
Daryl's MODOK. Anything can happen.
Yep. Well, there you go. See,
Zion has a point. Zion has a point.
Boy.
I'm glad that we're on this spot because I want to ask a question. So,
okay.
The gray hair chick's name is Janet, right? Correct?
Yeah, that's Janet Van Dyne. Yeah.
Yeah. So, they was trying to set up this whole thing like she's like a war criminal, but all she did was really try to help this guy get home. So I have a question of like the dialogue towards her by Bill Murray. Like I get that they may be mad that he unleashed him, but like the way that everyone like was wearing it is like she was sided with him and like started killing everyone.
Yeah, it is okay. I think it is kind of a thing where, yeah, it's probably just people being pissed that they're just mad because I mean, number one, she started helping him, and then when she stopped him, she basically just she stopped him from leaving with his in his time travel device,
but just left.
She just like the big thing is that she's kind of guilty. She's guilty of all his genocide and stuff like that by association, based off the fact that she did not really clean up her mess. She just she did her thing with the expanding his little core and just left.
Well, I mean, she didn't leave right away. She didn't leave. I mean, she left him there, but she didn't go back. She wasn't saved for another 10, 15 years because she was fighting against him.
Yeah, but
she left him she just left him there. Yeah.
Right. She just left him there. I mean, she, once Hank rescued her, she just, she washed her hands of it. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's a little, maybe there's like a little, maybe some going from quantum to regular universe, scrambled some things, or maybe she didn't know how to get back. But point being, yeah, they as far as average Joe microverse, she just left. She was just like, all right, guys, the guy from Romancing the Stone came to rescue me, so later. Have fun.
Yeah, but that's another thing, right? I would think that if I was stuck here, almost on unleashing a quantum overlord, as soon as I got back with someone that can understand a sentence that I can speak, I'd probably tell them, hey, we cannot go back there because there's a quantum overlord in there. So we just stay out. But this all happens because she just decided to just keep things to herself, and then stuff hits the fan. And I just find that interesting. That like she just decided to just keep things quiet about a quantum overlord. And then as soon as someone started saying, hey, we're gonna send a beacon, oh crap. I didn't tell you guys about the quantum overlord, did I?
Yeah. No, it is that is a bit of a boo-boo. I do the citizens of the quantum realm though. What I found interesting is one of the that one creature, the one that was like a blob and was like, oh, I'm getting holes, I want more holes.
How many holes do you have?
First off, that is actually voiced by he was actually voiced by a returning actor to the Ant-Man movies.
Really?
The guy who voiced him, I forget how to pronounce his name, but he played one of Scott's buddies that formed that security company. He was also in James Gunn's Suicide Squad as Polka Dot Man.
Oh, yes.
But what you're saying is that they forgot to use another person in the cast from the first two movies without really having a part, or at least having a part to at least cameo. Because like Randall Park is on screen for 10 seconds. Randall Park is a big part of Ant-Man.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's also given the plot that we're dealing with. Randall Park had like a silent cameo. Louis wasn't there. The other guy that's part of the trio wasn't there. Scott's ex-wife and her current husband weren't there.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's like, given what we're dealing with, what were they supposed to do?
That is a good point, because the whole story took place in the microverse, and there was like just bookends. Right. Yeah, I see your point. Yeah, but it was nice they gave him a job.
Yeah, I mean, it's, and then by the way, the Holes, our friend with the Holes, I got to admit, when he first got blasted, when he just got raked, I'm just like, they did not. So when he jumps up, he's like, I have 4 holes. I'm like, okay, you didn't. Good. Because I was like, dude, that guy was adorable. Okay.
And then he took everyone out, and then he takes all, and the telepath goes, I didn't know he could do that.
I didn't know he could do that. Yeah.
And he's supposed to know everything from your minds. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, he could also try to block some stuff out, because I mean, if you always got somebody's mind blasting in your head, there might be some stuff in there that you're like, no, I don't need to know this.
You're right about that, because remember what happened when he first met Scott. he was like, stop thinking that. Don't think that.
Stop. Yeah, it's like stop. I mean, just yeah. In the wrong place, he could just be having one killer migraine. It could just be one of those moments where it's like, I don't want to talk about it. There are things I can't unsee or unthink.
So now the movie started talking about incursions again.
Which, by the way, it's great that you bring it up, because I saw an article that was talking about Phase 4, and how it could be that, how they felt that Phase 4, there's talk that it's like, oh, what was the whole point of Phase 4? It felt aimless. But here's the thing. What if the deal behind Phase 4? What if it was actually hiding in plain sight? Especially because of the revelations from this movie, especially especially its end credit scenes. The end credit scene, we see that, we get hints of it throughout the movie that the Kang Council is out there.
Yeah.
Kang himself, or at least the variant of Kang that we deal with in this movie, says that, yeah, they're out there. And here's the thing. So he said that his other selves created incursions and started messing with the with time and space. So that made me think. Like I stopped and after the movie and after I read that article, I was like, wait a minute. So think about it this way. Okay, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is where we first had the word incursions dropped, right?
Right.
Yes.
And according to the Illuminati in that film, they said it was Doctor Strange's fault. It was their Doctor Strange that created incursions.
Yes.
However, what if it was actually Kang or one of the Kang variants? And they manipulated the Illuminati into thinking it was Doctor Strange. Because think about it this way. Think about, one of the things the article mentioned, and I'm like, huh. Because I'm looking back, think about how in Phase 4, there are several times where we have, I'm kind of wondering, so for example, when Doctor Strange in Spider-Man No Way Home is trying to do that spell to make people forget Peter Parker's identity.
Yes.
What if, while the spell was going on, or at least doors were open, if the Kang Council was observing this and then tinkered? Made it so that the spell went haywire, or doors open and they kind of tried to try it even more, with everybody thinking, with of course the people who observing this thinking, oh, wait a minute, holy cow, we did something wrong, we got to fix it. Think about all the stuff that happened, that when you think about it, if the Kang Council really gets active, then the heroes are kind of behind the 8 ball even more. Because we have a Doctor Strange who had mastered, traveling through realities. Oh, blame him for incursions. He gets taken out, then somebody can travel realities with ease off the board. Scarlet Witch. The hints, some people are like, well, it didn't seem like she was going insane at the end of WandaVision, and here she is being the villain and Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Well, gee, we really didn't see what happened while she was all her lonesome studying the Darkhold. Could one of the Kangs have kind of whispered in her ear and been like, hey, why don't you read this page? Or, why don't you go into this? She goes insane. She gets taken down. Again, another way that the multiverse can be accessed and freely traveled, down. It's like, and then, Loki season 1. Maybe, I don't know, maybe somebody was trying to influence Sylvie so she could take out He Who Remains, so access to the multiverse is open again. Like, there's just all this stuff, it's like, that kind of makes you pause and go, like, just how, just how much of Phase 4 was aimless, and how much could it be that this leads into what's going to be the big, the whole big thing for, coming up for Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars.
And that's another thing. this is all leading up to Secret Wars, right? And at this point, it's
Yeah.
pretty much like, at least from my point of view, it's like almost confirmed that it's Secret Wars 2014. Like everything's gonna fall apart. King or one of them is gonna reinforce the pieces, and we get Battle World or something, and then we get the new version of MCU right after that. At least that's how I'm perceiving things, because like that's how 2014 ended, right? Incursions started happening, Doom and Strange started going through lines, and then you find out that it was the Beyonders, and then the whole thing falls apart. But then Doom picks up the pieces, and if I'm not wrong, King had a line in this movie about saying like he's like everything's falling apart, and then he's gonna pick up the pieces and put it all together, right? But yeah, it's just pretty interesting that like they just said we're not going to do the 80s Secret War. We're going to go straight into 2014 and just deconstruct and rebuild to whatever's next. At least that's how I'm looking at it. And you brought something correct. It's like Phase 4, all this is just leading up to something. Like nothing here is wasted. At least that's how I look at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, it does feel like they're going into like the Secret Wars they're going to use is the 2014 2015. As much as I would love the 80s Secret Wars, there is that thing of, well, how do you like pull that off? Because you need to introduce the Beyonder, and it's like, where's the room for that?
Right.
We could also, I mean, we could get like a weird amalgamation of it. We still, it might not be Battle World, might have elements of classic Secret Wars. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of up. It's kind of like I don't know how. I'm not. It's like it's just we don't. Yeah, we don't. A lot of this is we're still like it's speculation land.
Can I ask you a question?
Okay.
So like, obviously King has different versions of himself that are in comics and such, right? But
yeah.
From looking at this particular story and how they took King, it's like they took pieces of Fantastic Four stories and interjected them into King. Because when I look at the Council of Kings, it's just hilarious. Because like there they are, the Council of Kings, right? But like the Council of Reeds. It was literally like looking into a mirror. It's not a bad thing, but like it's just like wow. I mean, yo, that's literally the kind of Council of Reeds. But like weird how they like took pieces from 4 and interjected it into King. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's kind of interesting.
I will say this: the Council in the comics, the Council of Kangs predates the Council of Reeds.
Yeah. Yes, it
You
does.
see, I know nothing about King. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah. Well, no, the King Council thing. The King Council thing was in like the mid to late 80s. Is in the Avengers is when they introduced that there would be a group of Kangs, like alternate reality selves, getting together and forming a council. Then there's also, and then it's like, okay, because this is where the brain might start hurting. There is not only that, so there's not only the Kang Council, but there's also something called the Cross Time Kangs. And there's apparently a group that, you have people who confront Kang, kill him, and then take his armor. So you'll have somebody who is not traditional Kang using the Kang armor, and they got a group together. Now, I know that in the comics, like a decade later, there was a story where that group was totally obliterated. And also, Kang himself went after the Kang Council and tried to take out all his different variants. Like he actually went ahead and just started clipping them out. And I think there's even one point where he even grabbed the memories of his different alternate parts and tried to absorb it, and then went insane.
Interesting.
Yep. So
That's
we have
very
like
multi-layered.
Yep, I don't know, incredible. That's the thing. Kang as a character is not a straight line.
Wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey.
Wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey, multiversy type of thing. Because it's like at some point, because the way it, the reason that we have all these variants is that the way it's been explained is that when Kang time traveled, he created an alternate universe self. That all his time travels kept creating these variants, these divergence. So it's like it's all his time traveling creates this. So it's one of these things where it's like you can encounter Kang 5 times, and then all 5 of those could be a different Kang. You couldn't be not encountering the same person. You could encounter him, and then he already knows you, but you don't know him. It's just wow. Like you could encounter Kang when he's like in his 20s, and he's like, I don't know if I want to do all this, universal conquering stuff. And you could encounter, you could encounter a Kang who's in his 70s, and he's like, you know what? I want to take a break from this because I'm getting a little tired of Captain America throwing a shield at my face. And it's like also, like I mentioned, that Kang I just mentioned, you could, that is just one of like a possible future Kang who could just be like, yeah, I'm gonna, I remember when I was an Egyptian pharaoh, I'm gonna go back there and chill, but you can encounter a Kang that he's not gonna turn into that. He's not gonna be at one point going, the heck with this. I don't want to do this anymore. It's just, that's the thing, it's like you're dealing with somebody that it's like you're dealing with multiple somebodies, and that's probably one of the things that is also so dangerous. Yeah, they were able to beat him and apparently destroy him, but the next one that starts taking part in things, there is no guarantee that he is going to be beatable.
Yeah, like, dude sounds unbeatable.
Well, it's like he can be, that's the thing. He can be beaten. It's just, there's nothing to say that there isn't like a Kang that will then show up later that is not unbeatable.
Guys, you know what's unbeatable?
Time.
The fact that we have to go on Subspace Radio Network. Oh man, we're having such a great discussion on Ant-Man and the Wasp and QuANTuMAnia. But you know what, guys? Go, if you're listening on our podcast, keep listening. If you aren't, go to the Mark Who 42's Universe podcast, and you will hear more of our discussing this great movie. And yes, great. I'm sorry, anyone who didn't think so. On behalf of myself, Mark Baumgarten, Eduardo M. Freyre, and Zion Quiros, we will see you later. Please go to our podcast or stick with our podcast. We'll be right back.
Don't go away. Don't go away. We'll be back with more Mark Who 42 after this.
The Pullbag is GCRN's comic book review and discussion-based podcast. Join me, TFG and Mike, and the rest of the GCRN crew as we discuss the comics we are reading right now. Inside the Pullbag, you'll also find the origins of how guests got into or out of reading comics, after dark discussions, and so much more. You can find the Pullbag every Wednesday, which is New Comic Book Day, only on geekcastradio.com and on anywhere you consume your podcasts. Make your great escape into comics and jump into the Pullbag today.
Thanks for sticking around here for the Mark Who 42's Universe podcast. I'm your host, Mark Baumgarten. With me, Eduardo M. Freyre and Zion Quiros. But you probably already knew that because you've been listening to us for almost an hour now. And we're going to keep going talking about Ant-Man and the Wasp, QuANTuMAnia.
There is something I would want to recommend to you, Zion.
Mm-hmm.
If you're interested. There is so a couple of things. If you really want, there are a couple of things that were written within like the last 20 years or so. Well, a little over 20 years. But I think it would help you, understand things a bit. I think it would help you understand things a bit more if you want to get into, if you want to get into Kang and some of his stuff. There is so there was a mini series that was made called Avengers Forever.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, Avengers Forever. That deals a lot with Kang and one of his more like out there variants, Immortus. It's Kang versus Immortus, and it also involves the Timekeepers from Loki season 1. You have this group of Avengers from across time. Like you have, for example, Yellow Jacket's part of the Avengers in this group, but it's a Yellow Jacket from when Pym had his nervous breakdown. Captain America is a part of the group, but it's Captain America from when after he fought the Secret Empire, and he's kind of lost his faith in himself and America. So he's not the Avengers Assemble yelling guy. He's a guy who's going through some stuff. The other one, so yeah, that one I would recommend. It does, it was written by Kurt Busiek, and he does try to put things in kind of as much of a linear, he tries to put things in as much of an understandable thing as he can. So definitely worth a read. There's another one that is called actually called Kang Dynasty. And that is, that one was part of like Busiek's Avengers run, like regular Avengers run. And that one is Kang basically trying to take over the world.
When would he not?
But I mean, this is just straight up. And it's interesting because one of the things he does when he tries is he basically reveals himself to the planet, and he goes, look, I'm a time traveling conqueror, but you're going to want me to rule the world because I know stuff that's coming. And if you let me take over things, then I'll protect you. It's like, hey, this thing where Sentinels take over the world and just rule everybody? You don't want that to happen? Let me take over. I will take over, and, we won't have Sentinels. Oh, you don't want the Martians to invade and take over? Let me be in charge. I'll tell the Martians to go, F themselves. That's the thing. He basically says, oh, you're going to want me to take over the world because all this other stuff that's going to take over the world won't be able to do it because I'll be in charge.
Fair proposition.
That's the what?
Fair. That's a fair proposition.
Yeah.
And
it's like
time traveler said that. That's fair.
Yeah, no, and it's like, and it's the type of thing, and it's interesting because, the ending is also just incredibly interesting. I don't want to spoil it because I want you to read it, but it does. But that, and one of the things, like for example, he did have a, Kang had kind of a thing where he would have himself downloaded into another body if he was in danger. So what's interesting then is there is a point that in Avengers Forever where he talks about basically getting rid of that. He's like, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to take out that ability, because if I'm going to really, if I'm going to show myself off to be an awesome warrior, I can't have like that escape hatch. Let's put some risk.
Interesting.
So it's like, it's interesting because there's stories that show him as being a he thinks of him, this is the thing, like he's not one of those time travelers that would be like, I know how I'm gonna win. I'm gonna go and I need to beat Zion. I'm gonna go kill him in his crib. He wouldn't do that. Like,
that's horrible.
He wouldn't do that. Like, he's not kill this person while they're a child, because as far as he's concerned, that's not, like, he wants to prove himself the greatest warrior of all time. So that's not how a warrior proves himself. Like, no, he's not gonna try and kill somebody while they're still in the in infancy, because there's no challenge in that. If he wants to take you out, Mark, he's gonna come. He's gonna want you in your prime.
Zion, have you noticed that Ed is getting bloodthirsty for both of us at this point? This is not fair.
Dude, I'm just pulling examples out.
I know. I'm just playing with you.
The whole thing is just, it's, he's somebody that is not, he thinks of himself as a warrior.
Yeah.
And if you're a warrior, then you do this warrior style, which means, no cheap shotting by going, oh, I'm gonna make sure that truck that didn't hit them when they were 4 actually hits them. It's like, no. If he wants to take on the Rock, he'll come and he'll be like, yes, I want to fight you, Mr. Johnson. You're this really powerful person. So it's like, oh, I want to fight you when you're at your best.
On live TV.
Yeah. Oh, you know what?
Show up and fight him right on live TV. I'm almost certain of it.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? Yeah, he probably would. He would be like, no, because that would also give him an audience, and he could just be like, you see?
Can I ask a question about abilities? Because in this movie, he was like using the Force, and they didn't really explain what he was doing. So I want to ask, what was he doing?
Probably just using a force field. Just using a force field in his armor. A lot of his abilities, they're in his armor.
Okay, so
and all he's doing is just...
That's interesting.
What?
So he's to stop him on his tracks. Like Syndrome.
Yeah. Basically, this is the thing. He uses his future technology to take over things. All it is just technology that's beyond our capabilities right now. So, all his little force using thing, it's force fields and stuff like that. So
he actually reads offspring, or like his descendant, or like is it just like implied because his last name is Richards?
Actually, that is the thing. I think it's unconfirmed. It's a theory. It's like an unconfirmed theory. I know that. Yeah, it's kind of an unconfirmed theory as to whether or not he's actually related to Reed Richards. Supposedly, he's related to Reed through Reed's father.
Interesting.
That Reed's father, he might supposedly at one point he thought he might even be related to Doctor Doom. Like, in fact, that's actually how he got inspired to become Kang, is that he started off as Ramatut, trying to rule ancient Egypt. And when he did that, like when he went to ancient Egypt and set himself up as as a pharaoh, after the Fantastic Four defeated him, he tried to go back to his native time, ran into Doctor Doom, and then just with that meeting, he's like, let me, maybe I should just do the Egyptian pharaoh thing. Maybe I should be kind of a little closer to Doctor Doom in just the way that I operate.
What a mind.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, like he might like, again, he might, it's whether or not he is Doom or somebody else. That's always been kind of one of these things where it's like, maybe not.
That's something.
Like, he might be related to Doom, he might be related to Reed. Nobody knows. It's weird. Like, his timeline is very weird.
Shoot, imagine running into Doom himself and saying, I want to be like that guy.
Yeah. I want to be like this guy. I want to be like this guy here. No, he did. He got inspired by Doom. I know that there's like, that's the thing. What I love about the end credits scene is that they got into just exactly how, like, crazy Doom's Doom's timeline is. Because like, he has, because like, it's like, the Kang. It got into how crazy Kang's timeline is, because it is just insane. Because the most common start point is that once he discovers time travel, he goes back in time and becomes a pharaoh named Ramatut. He rules for a while, and then the Fantastic Four come in, and he gets exposed.
Yeah,
He then flees into he flees into the time stream, and then runs into Doom, becomes Kang. There's another thing where he doesn't run into Doom, and instead of becoming Kang, he becomes the Scarlet Centurion. One version of the Centurion actually manages to conquer Earth. He tricks the Avengers into helping him conquer the world. So there is a universe out there where Kang where he conquers reality with the help of the Avengers. There's another version of the Scarlet Centurion that took over the took over the Earth that was home to Squadron Supreme. There's I'm trying to get it's trying to figure it out. This is gonna get kind of complicated. There's one point is supposed to be that at some point he becomes Immortus. Like, he gets really old. He decides, I don't want to do this anymore, and he becomes Immortus and rules Limbo. And he works with the Timekeepers. There's another point where he gets old enough. He says, I don't want to deal with this anymore. He goes back to ancient Egypt and rules as Ramatut for the rest of the time. And he also runs into his younger self and the Avengers and faces a battle, battles with them. It's like, this is just, I'm just saying this as like the least complicated way possible, because
this is more complicated. This is more convoluted than Stephen Moffat and the River Song Doctor storyline.
Oh yeah, no.
This is way out there.
Well, this is the thing. Even like, we got introduced to another kind of variant of Kang. I don't know if I'm trying to figure out if it's a variant or if it's actual Kang. The other end credits scene where we have a Kang variant named Victor Timely talking with talking with people, and we see that Loki and Mobius and Morbius are there.
Mm-hmm.
That in the comics, I don't know if it's I don't know if it's Kang, if it's mainline Kang or if it's a variant Kang. At one point, goes back in time to about early 1900s. It sets up his identity as Victor Timely, and he basically sets up his own company and sets up a town in Wisconsin named after him called Timely, Wisconsin. And it turns out that he, one of the things is, it's kind of the best way I can describe it is tech company. If a tech company existed in like the turn of the century. So a lot of technology, especially when we're talking robotics and artificial life, you could give him credit for.
Huh.
Like, it's actually his, I don't want to say fault, but he actually like that storyline I was telling you about, Kang Dynasty, that even becomes a plot point because you have the United States is like, oh, we're going to launch these Sentinels at him, and then Kang is like, oh yeah, they're using stuff that my company had produced back in the day. I can control them now, and it's like, oh, great, so that plane goes out the window. So yeah, and I think even I think he even gave he gave in the comics. I think he even helped Dr. Phineas Horton, the one who created the original Human Torch and later on created the Vision. Like, he even gave him some help. It's like, oh yes, come work for my company. Oh, you're dealing with artificial men. Come work for my company. I think I've got some stuff that can help you. So it's like, Victor Timely showing up, it's like, oh, crud, because then it gets bad because, hey, who knows what technology in the MCU he's responsible for, which means, there could be a plan that the Avengers or whoever's going to fight him have, and then it doesn't work because, Kang will just be like, oh, yeah, I worked on that when I was Victor Timely. Oh, that's cool to see again. It's like, right. Well, that lands out the window.
Interesting.
Yep.
I have something I want to throw out. Something I was thinking of while I was watching the movie, and then I read, people commenting on this.
Yeah.
Do you think that Scott Lang and Hope ended up on the wrong Earth or not? Are they on the right Earth? Because that montage, people are looking at him different, and they're saying, "Oh, you saved it," kind of like, and also like he saved the world again. But no, he didn't. He just dealt with the quantum realm, which nobody would have any inkling of, and it just seems like his life has gone better. And then he has an anxiety attack where he's thinking, maybe, and then he goes. So it was like he was realizing that he's on the wrong Earth, and then it was like, yeah. What do you guys think?
That's actually not a bad thing. Like, that would be interesting if he actually got into a variant, into a variant Earth, not his own Earth. What I find, what I'm curious about, because another interpretation of the ending is, Kang said that it's like, hey, there's worse than me out there.
And that he knew the end and that something was going to happen.
Yeah, that he knew the end and that something bad was going to happen. It's like, I die, that's it. Game over. As they say in the Alien movies, game over, man, game over. Part of it is, I think, Scott kind of being like, no, I don't like. He's not sure because it's
right.
Like, it should really. It's like, wait a minute, how can it's one of these things that's like, Yeah, I mean, maybe, it's like, yeah, there is what's coming because now you have the whole Kang Council is alerted. But it's kind of one of these things because he's also like, well, no, I'm a good guy. Good guys stop the bad guys. So it should make sense that we're fine.
Right.
It's just that it's that nagging feeling, not so much that they're on the wrong earth, but that I did good, right? It's like I'm a good guy. Good guys stop the bad guys. They don't let the bad guys run over everybody else. So it's like that little nagging feeling of like, well, no, we beat bad guys. We don't let them take over the world because they say something worse is coming. That's not how it works.
Right.
That little nagging feeling in the back of your head that like goes, huh? I mean, I did the right thing, right? Because that's how this works.
Yeah.
Didn't you notice that at the end of the trailer? I mean, of the post credit scene, it said King will return, but not Ant-Man.
I didn't see that. I
Yeah,
didn't watch. I saw the end.
It did. I did notice that. I mean, it could be okay.
Well, then that proves my point almost. Yeah.
Maybe. Of course, it could also be that since this is supposed to be the last of the Ant-Man movies, it's just like, well, this is the last of the Ant-Man movies, and then Kang. It also could because remember, Infinity War. The end of Infinity War said Thanos will return,
right?
While picking up the idea that his plan to wipe out half the universe has succeeded.
Yeah.
It didn't hint at us that, oh, don't worry, everybody who got snapped will come back. So I think it was just the Kang will return. That could just be a thing saying, hey, the big bad is now out there.
Yeah.
And this isn't over.
And wasn't the writer of this movie the same guy who's writing Avengers Kane Dynasty? I think it's the same guy that's writing the new Avengers movie.
I'd have to check
Which
that.
Then it would make sense that he wrote what he wrote.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I had no clue that this was the last Ant-Man movie.
Well, after the box office, if they planned, I don't know if they do it. I'm really upset that the box office is dead because I got to tell you, folks. I got to tell you something, folks. This movie is an integral part of Phase 5. If you don't see this movie, you're gonna miss a few things. You got to see this movie.
Yeah, no. Well, also, I mean, it set up Loki season 2,
and it does that too. Which Loki season 1 set this up. 2. So yeah,
and it's like, and also, I think it's just like, I think part of it, I kind of feel like this, and the reaction to phase 4 of the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's a large part of it is much like I feel a large part of it is like is kind of like the reaction to Iron Man 3 after the first Avengers movie.
Right.
It's this thing where it's like, look, this movie might not, I think it's like, this is not, it can't just be that every single movie is supposed to be go big or go home.
Yeah.
You sometimes have smaller scale stuff. Because, like, for example, Iron Man 3, I've always said, it's meant to be a coda to the Avengers. It's not meant to be another giant spectacle. It's meant to be the spectacle's run. This is one of the characters having to deal with the aftermath. A lot of you had like a lot of the Marvel shows that Disney Plus had as part of Phase 4 was dealing with the aftermath of Endgame. It's like, yes, Thanos is beaten. We beat Thanos, but these are the pieces that have to be up.
Ed.
Yeah, Kang got beat by Ant-Man in this. This is one Kang, and we've got more on the way. Like, the story's not done.
And I see Phase 4 a little differently. I think Phase 4 is the breather. Do you remember before all these, every 6 issues is a main story, then a main story, then a major story? But back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, when there's a major story and it ends, then you have a little relief. And then it goes, and there's like an issue or something between storylines that are not major. And I think that's what Phase 4 was, a breather for the Marvel Universe with some things that are going to happen in the future, but, kind of not meant to be a major storyline. Does that make sense at all?
That actually makes, you know what, Mark? That makes perfect sense. That makes absolutely perfect sense. And yes, I mean, you could, you can very well be right that what we're dealing with here is, this is the take a breath, take a breath, grab a drink of water, go to the restroom. Thanos has been beaten, but this is the relax before the bit hits the shan, so to speak.
Yeah. Okay. Wow, I had something that you liked.
No, it is not. It's also not a bad. It's also not a bad theory. This is we're setting stuff up, but right now it's like take a breath. It's also kind of like I think sometimes for major stories, sometimes you also have like a breather issue. You have a story that's not, that is also not, end of the world stakes.
Right.
This is the calm before the storm. I know that, another, and actually, this ties in to another Kang story. Another one of Kang's big stories is this Avengers story called The Celestial Madonna, where, Kang hears about someone called the Celestial Madonna, who is supposed to give birth to this, universal saving person called the Celestial Messiah. And Kang narrows it down to 3 people: Agatha Harkness, the Scarlet Witch, or Mantis. And he ends up in a battle with the Avengers over this. And there is an issue during this storyline where the Avengers are in Saigon. They just finished a big battle, and they are relaxing in Saigon. While meanwhile, Kang actually teams up with one of his alternates, Immortus, and he actually creates a group called the Legion of the Unliving, full of characters that are thought to be dead at the time. And it's like, while he's doing this and preparing, the Avengers are relaxing. And then at the end of the issue, it's like, relaxation time's up. That's it. Time's up. We're not relaxing anymore. Now things get going. So it's like, that might be interesting. That Phase 4, again, there might be some subtle things that actually set up the multiversal saga. We just didn't realize it at the time. And then also, it could be let's take a break right now. Like, we just finished the Infinity Saga. It's the break. But then it's gonna ramp. And we have I think the next movie that's supposed to come up is the Marvels, the Captain Marvel sequel.
Yeah, which they pushed back like crazy.
Yeah, it was supposed to come out in July. It's been pushed to November.
Yeah.
But I know that we do have Loki coming up. We have
Guardians comes out. Guardians comes out in May.
Oh yeah, Guardians comes out in May.
Yeah.
That is supposed to close off the Guardians saga. So we'll see what happens.
You're listening to the Mark Who 42's Universe podcast. We are talking about Ant-Man and the Wasp: QuANTuMAnia. I have a question, and this is probably nitpicking. Kind of like Zion was kind of doing before. No, here we go. When
you're wrong.
Yeah, I'm wrong. Okay, so Scott and Hope are left in the microverse with no way out. They've just defeated Kang. They're looking out at everyone on the outside who are finishing the revolution, and he goes, and then the wormhole opens up behind him, but it could just, and he goes, I think it's time to go home. How did they know? Because I don't know if the sound, I mean, maybe it's because our sound, I'm wondering how could he recognize it from a sound that he's only heard once and knows that that are there to rescue him?
He heard the sound, and
which he's only heard once before.
Well, if you hear
no,
the TARDIS ones, you will know the TARDIS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Not to mention, okay, well, he's heard enough, like he's heard the quantum tunnel
right
a few times. He's familiar with the sound the quantum tunnel makes. And then also I think it's just the sound, the light, and you know what? It could just be a little bit of hope. He knows his daughter. He knows that Cassie, Hank, Janet, they're not just gonna be like, oh, woe was me. Woe was me, we can't get to Scott and Hope. They're gonna be like, get on the freaking computer. Let's do this. So yeah, part of it may have just been him like, hey, he's got hope because he knows his family. He knows how they operate. And being stuck in the quantum realm is not something that is going to stick around for long. So yeah, I think part of it is yeah, he can recognize the sound of quantum tunnels. There's also light pouring through the room that probably has nothing to do with what's going on.
Right.
And he was just like, okay, yeah, that's probably Cassie. That's probably Cassie or Hank, coming to the rescue.
Fair point. Said I was just nitpicking. It didn't matter.
Yeah. Well, sometimes that's the thing. I growing up as a Marvel zombie in the 80s, I'm familiar with the concept of the no prize. So I'm like, dude, just no prize it.
I want a Baldy Award. I want one bad. I got to go back in time. You don't remember the Baldy Award? Superman, the Superman comics in 1990. It started in I think 1990, right a few months before Lex Luthor died. They started giving out awards to the best letter that either explained something or just somehow just was a funny letter, and yeah, you get one. And they actually, when Superman died, they started giving the platinum issues of the death of Superman along with the Baldy Award. It wasn't well deserved like the no prize, but and actually the no prize was just an empty envelope, right?
Right.
They said the Baldy Award had something in the envelope. I never saw one, so I don't know. But
okay. Okay. So so what you're saying is it was the DC equivalent to the no prize.
Yeah. And it was only the Superman comics. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I know that at one point I think G.I. Joe was the only one that had a no prize. But I think they stopped no prizes for everything else. But then with G.I. Joe, you could still try for a no prize.
Huh. That's cool.
Something people keep saying is that we're getting set up for the Young Avengers. Well, I mean, we have. Let's see. Well, Cassie now has her own suit. We got Bradley's. We got Isaiah Bradley's grandson in Falcon and Winter Soldier. Kate Bishop is running around. We got Scarlet Witch's kids.
Mm-hmm.
At least in one alternate reality. So yeah, I would.
And they
be
can
surprised
they can always use the Hulk's son, Scar.
Oh, there you go. Yes, Scar. Yeah, they could put Scar in there as well. So yeah, it's interesting because we got the. I know that I think Fahey or Iger, one of those two, just this past week, said that we'll be looking at a different group of Avengers.
Yeah, I saw that.
And it's like, well, that sounds. I don't know about you, but that sounds like they're queuing up Young Avengers to me. I mean, even if they don't do Young Avengers, you've got Sam Wilson, the Sam Wilson Captain America. We've got, we've got again the people I just mentioned. We've got Shang-Chi. We've got Miss Marvel. We have the potential the potential is there to do like a new Avengers style group.
True.
Especially if they're going to start like integrating the Netflix shows back into the MCU continuity. I think everybody, with the exception of the Punisher, everybody else who had a Netflix show were in the Avengers at some point in the 2000s, 2010s. Daredevil was an Avenger. Jessica Jones was an Avenger.
True.
Luke Cage, Iron Fist.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, we have more members that can get thrown in. If Secret Invasion or Armor Wars brings in characters from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Please, yes.
If they get integrated back into things and Daisy Johnson's running around, that's another potential Avenger in there. It's just so the way is open. The way is definitely open. It's just, okay, are they going to pull the trigger, and what are who's going to be in the lineup? And also, how are they going to deal with the fact that, because is Pepper Potts going to be the one funding them? Is it going to be in tech? Where's this going to come from? Are they actually going to get some they're going to get some money from the 10 Rings? Shang-Chi going to talk to his sister and be like, hey, we need to save the world. Can you cut us a check? There's a lot of potential out there. Maybe, hey, they can get funding from the Rand Meacham company if Iron Fist is going to be around and he's going to be running it. So, possibilities. There are possibilities out there.
Well, there are so many possibilities out there, and one of those possibilities is that we've run out of time, which is not a great it's not a great reality, but it's the real reality. Any final words?
Kind of ironic because we're talking about time.
Yeah. Yes, we are. Any final words from the crew?
Someone just have the King Be Off spray handy. Or the King Be Gone trap.
King Be Gone. Yeah. And then, luckily you're not Kang, so you wouldn't be gone.
Yeah.
You'd stay on the show.
The problem with that though is it's kind of hard to make a time traveler be gone.
Oh no, that's easy. Just ask for the DMAC gun and just shoot him once and we're good. For that universe's King.
For that universe's King.
Yes, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. That's the thing. It's like you could get rid of one Kang, but then how many more are out there?
But you really couldn't get rid of it. Think about it. So you shoot with the DMAT gun. The DMAT gun either works or doesn't work. If it works, that's one timeline. If it doesn't work, you've just splintered off another. So you can't get rid of Kang. He will keep popping up over and over and over.
Well, what would be worse is if he pops up, he looks at you and goes, "Good to meet you again, Mark." And you're just like, "Again?" And then he just kind of looks at you and goes, "Oh, I see." And just smiles and laughs and walks away.
God.
And then you're left with, oh crud.
Boy,
you're left with the fact that you're gonna be you're gonna be left with the fact that someone's coming. You're gonna be running into Kang at some point. And he might even be like, I'll remember this.
Okay, and on that, we're going to go. Thanks for listening to the Mark Who 42's Universe podcast. I'm your host, Mark Baumgarten. With me, of course, our co-hosts, Eduardo M. Freyre and Zion Quiros. So until next week, we are taking a skip week. We are taking a little break. I'm going to be sunning it up in lovely Universal Studios tour in Orlando. Yes, sunning it up. It's going to be like 55 degrees out in the in the evening. That's better than you, Ed. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we've been getting cold temperatures and rained on. Oh no! I have to be out.
No. Hey, I was saying I'm going to a warmer. I'm saying I was going to a warmer climate, and then realized not really. I wasn't.
It's 55 degrees. Oh no! Oh my God!
It was in the high 80s this week, and I was dying. It's too hot. I'd rather have your cold, Ed. I really would.
Sorry, Mark. I'm just on behalf of everybody who's gotten cold, all the cold and the snow. You know, I had to do that.
You did. I put my foot right there. I stepped right in.
I had to.
Okay.
You stepped right. No, you know what? You slipped. Your foot went up, and then now you're tasting shoe right now.
And there's ice on the ground, so I'm sliding down. Okay.
Dude, you're in Broward County, Florida. What ice?
Yeah.
So we're taking ice on the ground. If there's ice on the ground, it's because you messed up when you took it out of the refrigerator. Ice.
That has happened. That has happened to me. So next week we're taking a break. The following week we've got the gang from This Comic is Haunted from the 77 universe that you know and love from our previous shows, and hopefully we'll be promoting and getting you to help their Kickstarter campaign. But until then, for now, bye everyone. You know, in an alternate universe, that joke would have worked and I wouldn't have been ridiculed. Just saying. Bye.
You're in the wrong universe. You're in the wrong universe, bud. Sorry.
Thanks for listening to Mark Who 42's Universe, featuring Mark Baumgarten, Eduardo M. Freyre, Vicky Jakubowski, and Zion Quiros. This show was produced and directed by Mark Baumgarten. If you'd like to get in touch with us, go to our Facebook page or email us at markwho42s.universe@gmail.com. Our radio show airs weekly on Subspace Radio Network at www.subspace.radio and on iHeartRadio. You can listen to our old shows at our website, markwho42.com, and many podcast platforms such as iTunes, Audible, and Pandora. And if you want to hear shows dating back to 2012 with over 150 celebrity interviews, try our YouTube page, Mark Who 42. Mark Who 42's Universe, copyrighted 2023.